welcome to the regular meeting of the Oshkosh Area School District Board of Education for Wednesday, January 26, 2022. Has this meeting been properly noticed?
Yes.
Would you please call the roll?
Herzog?
Here.
Carnes?
Here.
Peschel? Salachi?
Here.
Wright?
Here.
Wyman?
Here.
Carlin?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And next is the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Dr. Davis.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Moving on then, we have board and administrative reports. Unfortunately, Mr. Peschel isn't able to be here physically tonight, and so he has handed off his board president report to me. So these are thoughts from Mr. Peschel for this evening. He wanted me to be sure to recognize our district nurses and their support staff for their work of handling the day-to-day medical needs of district students, as well as managing the district COVID protocols at the buildings. We all know that this has been a difficult 2 years, and our nursing staff, nursing assistants have really stepped up, and so we appreciate all their efforts to keep our students and staff safe and to keep us in line with COVID protocols. He also asked that we recognize all staff, especially those who are filling the gaps when substitutes can't be found. We know that substitute teachers are a nationwide shortage, and many of our teachers and paraprofessionals have been asked to step forward filling those needs, which means that in the case of the teachers, they're perhaps giving up a prep period, which means that work has to be done at another time, or they're not available for students to meet with them. In addition, we have building and district administrators, principals, and central office staff, including Dr. Davis, who are filling in as substitutes. And so on behalf of Mr. Peschel, I want to thank all of you for stepping up to make sure that we're keeping our schools safe and our students in school and engaged in meaningful instructional activities. Finally, Mr. Peschel wanted me to share several events that he has attended as a board member and as the president of the board. He recently attended the WASB, the WASDA-WASBO Education Convention, and has asked that at our first meeting in February, all of those who attended that convention be prepared to share some of the things you've learned, and whether that was in a session or through the networking, so that we're sharing with the public and being open and transparent about the value of that conference. Mr. Peschel, along with, I believe, all the rest of the board, we're very happy to attend the Tyrese Halliburton event at Oshkosh North, where Tyrese's number 14 jersey was retired, and he was inducted in the Oshkosh North Athletic Hall of Fame. So we congratulate Tyrese and his family and friends for their support over the years and the contributions he's made to the Oshkosh Area School District and to North High in particular. Finally, Mr. Peschel noted that he and other board members had been invited to attend the grand opening of the Oshkosh North Sensory Room, which was a communities project. Board member Chris Wright was the representative of the board and of Mr. Peschel at that event. And so Mr. Wright will be providing a brief report when we get to the committees section on tonight's agenda. And as I noted earlier, Mr. Peschel asks that at the February 9th meeting during committee reports, board and administrative participants at last week's education convention should be prepared to give a short presentation. Emphasis on short. And with that, we wish Mr. Peschel well and look forward to his return to the board. So I will next go to superintendent's report with Dr. Davis. Excuse me.
All right. Excellent. Thank you. So for the good news report for tonight, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Carl Traeger Elementary, who recently enjoyed its annual diversity celebration. Students explored the fair to expand their understanding of diversity and the families who are represented at Carl Traeger. So congratulations on a successful event over at Traeger. Next, we had first graders at Shapiro STEM Academy. Recently enjoyed some hands-on learning during a robotics lesson in Mrs. Monagle's, with Mrs. Monagle, one of the technology integrators. So it's great to see students actively engaged and working hard in that area at such a young age. So pretty neat situation there. Congratulations to all involved. Our district is excited to pilot the Growing Readers program in partnership with UW Oshkosh and funded by the Oshkosh United Way. The program aims to help elementary school students develop their reading skills. It's led by on our end, the OASD Literacy Director, Linda Kuhop. So I want to shout out Linda for all of her hard work in coordinating this program on our behalf. We have 7 UWO students serve as tutors this year, and there are plans underway to expand it next year to 50 tutors. So a really great opportunity, and just value the partnerships that we can have with UW Oshkosh and the Oshkosh United Way on that endeavor. As was indicated before, we had Tyrese Halliburton's jersey retirement at Oshkosh North. So I want to just congratulate Tyrese and the entire Oshkosh community gathering to celebrate all of his accomplishments. Although there are a lot of great highlights from the event, one of the favorites is hearing Tyrese reflect on the many teachers and staff members in Oshkosh that impacted his life and who he continues to stay connected with. Pretty remarkable, since Tyrese is all over the country playing in the really difficult NBA schedules. So I just want to thank Tyrese for taking the time, thank the Sacramento Kings for coming up and supporting Tyrese, and especially all of our staff who supported Tyrese throughout his time in the Oshkosh Area School District. It's really a special event, and also thank board members for attending that event and helping us to celebrate Tyrese and all of his accomplishments along with our staff. So thank you for that. We have 2 events coming up that I wanted to make you aware of. First of all, the district-wide job fair happening Tuesday, February 15th at the Oshkosh Convention Center. And job seekers, so we're having that on February 15th. Job seekers can meet with HR staff, principals, supervisors, and educators to learn about open positions as well as expected hiring opportunities for the next year. So more information is also on our website, where you can sign up for one-on-one mini interviews during that event. And so we can also schedule some hiring opportunities after that, but it's just a great way for the community to be able to connect. So I want to try to promote that as much as we can to get people out and see what a great opportunity there is to make a difference in kids' lives here. The next event is a community education opportunity. On February 10th and 11th, we'll be hosting 2 community screenings of a documentary film entitled Like. The film was created to entertain, engage, and enlighten around issues surrounding mental health. All are invited to attend, though the content is geared towards middle school and high school students, parents, caregivers, and community members. Visit our website for more information on that. So it's 2 great events coming up. Also wanted to just give an update on our COVID-19 protocols. We had some changes that had occurred that took place this week. One is the extension of our face coverings requirement that was previously slated to expire on January 28th, this coming Friday. We extended that through February 25th. Based on the forecasting that we're getting from our local healthcare partners and the public health officials, we believe we're at the top of the peak right now in COVID incidents, and want to make sure that if we're going to move to a face coverings optional environment, that we do so in an environment that's appropriate with what the data says. So we believe that looking at the modeling, February 25th is a good time for us to make that transition, and then we'll have the protocols that we put in place for our optional environments will take place at that point, and we'll be reiterating that with the community as we get a little bit closer to that time. We were also able to shorten up the isolation and quarantine periods. Specifically for students, we were at 10 days, and we shortened that up to 5 days as long as and it's 5 days from a positive test. as long as students are not showing symptoms. And so that's allows us to be able to get students back in classes faster, students that are healthy enough that aren't showing symptoms, and we still have our face coverings requirement to provide some of those mitigation measures. So just want to reinforce that. We want to be able to keep kids safe, but also get them back in school as quickly as possible. So, so that took place this week. And finally, just a list of things that I've been working on since our last board meeting. So certainly very busy, trying to get out into the community as much as possible and continue to foster some of the great partnerships that we have. So that concludes the superintendent's good news report for tonight.
Thank you very much, Dr. Davis. Are there any district administrator supplemental reports tonight?
No, they're not.
Okay. Then moving on, we have committee reports, and I know Mr. Carnes is eager to give his education committee report, his brief report.
Yeah, so we met on Thursday, January 6th. One of the items we talked about was recruitment and staffing practices in the district. We had looked at, talked about the job fair that Dr. Davis just mentioned. We also talked about our percentage of our experienced teachers. So if they have a master's degree, if they just have their bachelor's degree, what percentage those are, comparing not only where our teachers are, our experienced teachers, but how that affects our goal for equity and equality throughout the district, and how that translates into people of color, economically disadvantaged, and how that translates that way. So we saw that our numbers are relatively close, but still a little bit different from where we want to be. We talked about partnerships between us and UW Oshkosh, which also Dr. Davis had just brought up, looking at using that for hiring practices down the road and what we can do to recruit local teachers and how we can do things with student teaching and partnerships that way. So that is it. Next meeting is it February 10th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Mrs. Szilagyi is eager to give her policy and governance report.
Yes, so we met on January 5th and we made some recommendations that are in our packet that we'll be voting on tonight. The first one was actually a recommendation from Dr. Davis that we update our committee meetings policy so that the wording is consistent with how we conduct our public forum here at the board meetings. So it'll be very similar at our committee meetings, meaning that the chair will be able to put a time limit based on the needs of the meeting. Also, just noting the board members cannot have a discussion back and forth so that we do not violate public notice requirements. We made some updates to definitions, conflicts of interest. Again, we updated the public comment at board meetings just to make sure it's consistent with other policies. We also did a lot of updates in policies about non-discrimination employment and prohibition against disability discrimination. These updates had to do with clearly defining when a deadline is business days and when a deadline is calendar days. We'll see those updates in our February meeting. And then finally, one thing I wanted to note is, I don't know how many of you will remember this, but about 8 months ago, Neola sent a recommendation for policies about board member ethics and board member anti-harassment, and we chose not to adopt those because we felt they were repetitive. We already had policies about board member anti-harassment and board member ethics. But this time around, now 8 months later, they're actually recommending that we delete the old policies. We did not follow that recommendation because I would not delete our current policies without putting in place the new ones. So at our February meeting, if you have strong opinions about the current ones versus the new ones, at our February meeting, we're going to review both and decide again which ones we would want to adopt so that we make sure we do have the right policy in place, but that we're not redundant. And that meeting will be February 2nd, I believe, at 8 a.m. Scrolling down to the bottom.
Next week.
Yeah, next week, Wednesday at 8 a.m. So that's my report.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Szilagyi. I do have a Facilities and Finance Committee report. The committee met on Thursday, December 16th. We had a presentation on the district audit and the report included facts that supported that the general fund remains strong and shows an increase in the fund balance of approximately $3.7 million. The net position of Fund 73 has increased by $1.2 million to approximately $9.4 million. And it was stated that the report of compliance related to the federal single audit and state single audit guidelines and found no issues, and that our audit was in complete compliance. The director of the Recreation Department, Mr. Helmbrecht, reported that there were no changes from previous agreements with the city, but would like to look into increasing the payment for lifeguards and lifeguard services to be competitive and to attract more individuals into those roles. Mr. Fox gave an update on the new North Side Middle School. That would be Val Phillips Middle School. The formal opening of bids, I believe, took place on December 16th. Groundbreaking is anticipated for March of 2022. The district is looking into having a large sign set up on the premises of the new middle school with the announcement of the Val Phillips name, as well as a thank you to the community for their support in the 2020 referendum. The website will also have regular updates informing the public of what's happening with the project as it is happening in relation to the construction of the new school. Mr. Nehans provided a recommendation as well as preliminary budget scenarios for 2022-23, reporting that the district is looking into the possibility of giving a 4.7% consumer price index or CPI increase in wages for all staff, and bargaining units will be considered and involved in those discussions. We believe that by increasing the wages to conform with the CPI, which has been our practice over a number of years, that this would help in attracting and retaining staff, which is consistent with one of our strategic plan goals. And finally, Mr. Nehans reported that the budget is tracking well and that the district is approximately $1 million ahead of where we would normally be at that time. So that is facilities and finance. Are there any other committee reports?
I think.
Mr. Wright is anxious to talk about that new sensory.
Yeah, thank you, Dr.
Well,
Herzog.
thank you.
Last week, I was able to attend the ribbon cutting ceremony for the new sensory room at Oshkosh North, and it was a real special event because the need for a sensory room was identified within Oshkosh North, and the communities program at Oshkosh North stepped up and helped that sensory room, and they made it happen. They partnered with businesses that donated paint. They researched what types of items would fit best in the sensory room to help kids that have behavioral issues and that have disabilities, so that they could go into the sensory room and re-regulate themselves, and so they could have a better school day. And it was wonderful to be there because they took a problem or an issue that the school was having, they put together a plan, and they went and executed the plan, and the beneficiaries of it are their fellow classmates. So I was proud to be there, and I think it was a great example of what students and staff and everyone in our district can accomplish. So that's my my report on the communities at Oshkosh North program and the new sensory room that we have.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you for representing Mr. Peschel and the board at that significant event. Appreciate that. Okay, next we move on to public forum, beginning with a non-agenda related public forum. Do we have anyone prepared tonight? All right, and I believe that there were 2 written communications that were shared, which Dr. Davis will share as well. Do we have anyone signed up for the agenda-related public forum?
We're never quite sure if it's agenda or non-agenda when
Okay.
it's online, so
Okay,
if you'd like, I can admit them.
I'm sorry.
You want me to admit them?
How many do we have altogether? Just one. Okay, I just want to read the protocols here. A total of 45 minutes during the meeting will be allowed for non-agenda and agenda-related public forum. Each speaker will be allowed up to 2 minutes to speak. We ask that you clearly state your name and full address, as well as the topic you wish to have us review. If you are acting as a spokesman for a particular group of individuals, please indicate the group you represent. Please state clearly and concisely the matters of concern, and limit your comments to 2 minutes. Please remember that the use of specific names of district personnel, titles, or identifiable descriptions may lead to legal liability. In such cases, please pursue the district's formal complaint process by contacting the superintendent's office at 920-424-0160 to direct you to the appropriate administrator. So at this time, we'll admit the first individual for public forum and look forward to the name and address and the topic of interest.
Hello. That seemed to work much better this time. Good evening. My name is Crystal Brenwood. My address is 1821 Iowa Street, Oshkosh, Wisconsin, 54902. Please feel free to come over and have a cup of tea without a mask. All right. I'd like to talk to you today. I was able to attend via Zoom Senator Ron Johnson's excellent panel discussion on Monday. And one of the interesting things they discussed was the Swedish study where they had no masks and no lockdowns in their country. And guess what? 0 pediatric deaths. Amazing. I think this board should just come right out and tell the public that they're going to just keep extending the mask mandate all the way through the end of the school year as it suits their needs. And they were bought and paid for by the $20 million they received. Additionally, I'd like to inform the board that according to the FDA and the CDC, after December 31st, 2020, the CDC will withdraw their emergency use authorization for the PCR diagnostic panel. So I don't know what you all are testing with, but it better not be the PCR test because, well, the FDA and CDC removed their approval. So I will send you the lab announcement that was first posted at the end of July that this was going to be the effective policy of the CDC and FDA. You will have it for your records. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you, Mrs. Brenwood.
And that's it.
All right, and Dr. Davis, I believe you have 2 communications to share with us tonight.
Yes, two communications. One is from Julia Solomon from 1320 Snowden Drive in Oshkosh. Thank you to OASD leadership for keeping our children safe, extending the mask requirements, and having plans in place if or when COVID impact face-to-face instruction is appreciated. We all want our kids in school, no doubt. However, planning for the event that we may not be able to do this is important, and I applaud the proactiveness of the OASD leadership. So thank you for Julia for that. The second note is from Alicia Alsberg from 1624 Maricopa Drive in Oshkosh. I addressed the school board multiple times over the last couple of years regarding this matter, and I am hoping this time my policy change request will have serious consideration. My question to you, would you support updating the open enrollment policy to state when a teacher or staff submits for open enrollment, it is approved for that family, including incoming siblings, and it is approved for the duration of the grades at that school? I feel making a teacher's life a little easier by allowing teachers to have priority over where their child attends school should be a benefit extended to staff. Open enrollment is an option, but a student could be denied the next year, causing that student to potentially be bounced between schools. This topic was discussed during the policy meeting on June 8th of 2020. Per meeting notes, I quote, "The committee decided to keep the process currently being used for consistency and equity," end quote. In other words, to keep the current policy for fair enrollment. But we are talking about our district staff and students. I think the current policy is treating staff and the students of those staff unfairly. And current policy offers no consistency to the student when the open enrollment is denied. I believe this should be a simple benefit to extend to them. Would you please, or would you support updating the open enrollment policy to state When a teacher or staff submits for open enrollment, it is approved for that family member, for that family, including incoming siblings, and it is approved for the duration of the grades at that school. This doesn't seem too much to ask. Thank you for your time, and thank you for all you do. And that concludes our written public comments.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Moving on then, we have the consent resolution agenda. For the consent agenda, the board has been furnished with background material on each item or has discussed it at a previous meeting. These will be acted upon with one vote without discussion.
We
The
didn't
board-
get an opportunity before to pull anything out of it. Do we have that opportunity now?
Oh, I'm so
Yes.
sorry. I missed that on the, yes, I will allow you to do that because I forgot to ask that earlier. So
Sure.
yes,
So I would like,
absolutely.
13, 14, and 15 are all very similar. I don't want to pull all of them, but I'd like to pull 13,
Okay,
and that discussion will be very similar.
okay. Very good. All right, so the remaining resolutions are, the board will consider approval of one, minutes of December 15th, 2020.
We disperse with the reading of all of the consent agenda items.
Second?
Second.
Okay, is there discussion? Please call the roll on the motion.
Carnes,
Yes.
Peschel, Salaji,
Aye.
Wright,
Aye.
Wyman,
Aye.
Carlin.
Aye.
Herzog,
Aye.
and motion carries.
Okay, so the consent resolution agenda consists of minutes, some personnel issues, Neola updates, summer school plan, school calendar. I would entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda, items 1 through 12, 14 through 17 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I guess we don't need to discuss that. Please call the roll.
Peschel, Salaji,
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Wyman,
Aye.
Carlin.
Aye.
Herzog,
Aye.
Carnes,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you very much, and thank you for calling for the waiving of the list. If anyone wishes to see the list, you can find it on the board Facebook page, I believe, as well as the website. All right, so individually considered resolution would be number 13, as requested by Board Member Carnes. Tentative agreement including base wage increase of CPI, which is currently 4.7%, for Oshkosh Education Association, or OEA, for 2022-2023. We need a motion and a second.
So moved. Second.
It was Salaji and Carlin, I believe. All right, now we're open for discussion.
I guess I'll take it since I asked for it to be pulled. I think this is one of those moments that needs to be highlighted more than within the consent agenda, just so that everybody can see it, talk about it, understand that we as a board had, through committee and other, having discussions about this, and took the recommendation of doing 4.7% for CPI this year, which is much, much higher than we've done in the past, and that's been there in the past. And I think that it's important to know that myself and all the board members show what our teachers and our staff mean to us. And one of the easiest ways to do that is through salary, is through paying them what they should make. And, it's an easy way, it's an easy win for them to know that we appreciate everything that they do. And I think it's good timing, considering what we've been through in the last 2 years. And I think it'll go a long way towards, feeling appreciated within our district. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carnes. Mrs. Salaji.
Yes, I would also like to comment. I just want to especially thank Mr. Nehans and others who worked on this, because they did it under difficult circumstances. And my time here on the board, the CPI, which is usually, as Mr. Carnes pointed out, only about 2%, the CPI increase is usually matched the per pupil spending increase that the state legislature has given us. And this year and next year, there's no per pupil increase coming from state legislatures. So for our business department to find a way to make 4.7% work in a year when we did not get per pupil increase is just very impressive, and I just want to be sure to commend them for that.
Well stated. Thank you. Mrs. Carlin?
At the WASB convention last weekend, last week rather, I read a study that said during the pandemic, 1 in 4 teachers thought about quitting. And I believe that because they were asked to do extraordinary things with very little resources during the pandemic. So this is our way of saying thank you to all of those teachers that stuck with it. It was a really difficult couple of years, and I really believe we're almost out of it, but teachers change the world, so they deserve this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Carlin. Anyone else? Mr. Wright?
Yeah, you know, the 4.7% increase, which I believe hasn't ever happened before in the history of Oshkosh Area School District, you know, really occurred because of previous moves that the board had made. It occurred because we went to a self-funded insurance model that is going to allow the district to save enough money to be able to provide this type of raise. And my hope is that this 4.7% raise shows our teachers and staff that we will invest in them and that we care about them. And it will show other teachers that are in other districts that are maybe looking at going to a different school district that we value teachers here. It's a mechanism that I hope we can use to retain and attract high-quality employees in the future. But, you know, it took making the right moves to make this happen. And that's a credit to prior decisions that the board and admin that really came from, the ideas came from our business department. But that collaboration and everyone being in the same boat together and working towards a common cause is hopefully what's going to lift this district to the next level. So that's my thoughts.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wright. Anyone else?
Why not?
We don't want to leave you off, Mrs.
Oh,
Weiler.
thank you. I just want to say thank you to Brian and the entire executive team, and everyone works for the executive team. There is a real can-do attitude in this building right now and in all of the schools. When we asked, how can you find 4.7%, we didn't hear, well, that will just never happen. They said, well, let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. And this is just one example. There are things like that happening all of the time. And I think it's a very exciting time to be with the Oshkosh Area School District and with this administrative team and with the teachers and with the families that have hung with us. And I'm really looking forward to see what's going to happen in the next few years. We have a very bright future.
Thank you, Mrs. Wyman. I'm very proud of each of you for the comments you've shared tonight. It's very uplifting and very exciting to be a board member with such forward-thinking individuals and such caring board members. We have a strategic plan which includes making sure that we're looking out for and taking care of our staff. And in recent memory, I don't remember a 4.7% raise. Going back to Act 10, the district has typically followed the CPI. And when that was even in the 1% to 2% range, there were times when the district struggled to do that. And so I'm really happy for all of our staff, and under the leadership of Dr. Davis and Mr. Renihans in the business department for helping to find these funds, as well as being able to do this in January, so that as we begin the hiring season, we can use this as a point of information moving forward that we are and we do value our staff. And as noted earlier in Mr. Peschel's report, we have so many unsung heroes out there every day: custodians, paraprofessionals, teachers who are covering for other classes, teachers trying to meet the needs of students who are home and not able to be in class because of some sort of illness, whether it's COVID or something else. And so I'm so happy that we're able to do this for our staff and the students that they serve. I think this is really important as we move forward and try to attract more high-quality people into our district, which is one of our goals, attracting and retaining high-quality staff. So I'm really pleased we're able to do this. As Mr. Carnes pointed out, this item 13 is a tentative wage base for the members of the Teaching Association, Oshkosh Education Association, and other resolutions we've already passed have provided this 4.7% increase for our non-teaching employees, all non-certified work groups, as well as which would include the OPEA, general exempt administrators, and actually everybody who works for the district. So this is a big move forward, I believe, for the district.
Absolutely.
Any other comments on this one? All right, please call the roll on Resolution 13.
Kearns.
Aye.
Peschel. Solaji.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Wyman.
Aye.
Carlin.
Aye.
Herzog.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Thank you very much. Are there any requests for future agenda items?
I think it's important we get Katie back here as soon as we possibly can.
Very good. We know that Mrs. Neiman had presented a report to us sometime in the fall, I believe, about how the communication area, marketing area for the district could be enhanced, and I think it's now time to consider specific requests and consider those moving forward.
Extra help.
Any other requests for future agenda items? Okay, any announcements? I do have one announcement. On February 10th, there is a Fab Lab program over at Oshkosh North, and on February 11th, there's a UW Oshkosh Resources Fair. It's going to feature an Oshkosh North grad who is also in the Oshkosh North Hall of Fame, not the Athletic Hall of Fame, but the other Hall of Fame. Her name is Miley Chang. She used to work for NASA, and now she's a PhD candidate in electrical engineering and computer science. UWO and the Fab Lab folks have combined for an International Day for Women and Girls in Science. And so they're featuring one of our own, Miley Chang. So if you get a chance to get over there, I think we all received invitations for that. I think you'll enjoy meeting Miley, who happens to be my neighbor when she's in town. But she's a delightful young lady and another outstanding alum of Oshkosh North High School. Any other announcements? Mrs. Carlin.
Legislative Committee is meeting at 8:30 tomorrow. If anyone would like to attend that is not on the committee, you are welcome to join. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. With no other announcements, I would entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session for considering the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility under Wisconsin Statute 19.85 (1) Wisconsin Statutes, A, Administrator Contract.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Wright.
Aye.
Wyman.
Aye.
Carlin.
Aye.
Herzog.
Aye.
Kearns.
Aye.
Peschel. Solaji.
Aye.
Wright. Meeting is adjourned into executive session.
Motion carried. Thank you all very much.
I done.